So hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna have my very good friend, Mark Winograd. He's a really good personal injury lawyer and he's also a business owner. And that's the reason that I wanted to talk to him for so long. So hi Mark, how are you doing?
Buenos dias. Good morning to you and to your very nice audience. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So before we start talking about those legal details, could you please tell us more about yourself and how did you make in this decision to become an injury lawyer?
Okay. Well, first I'm going to tell you how I always, growing up, wanted to be a lawyer. I have an uncle, my Uncle Mickey. He's now 89 years old and he's a little infirm. He was my hero growing up.
Oh.
Because before he was a very successful trial lawyer, he was a basketball player. He was the starting point guard of the 1954 Duquesne NIT champions. And he was a basketball star. He was actually drafted by the pros.
Wow.
But he promised my late grandmother, that he would become a professional. He wouldn't be a basketball player, he'd be a professional. And he became a very successful lawyer, a very successful criminal trial lawyer in Jersey City. And that's why I always wanted to be a lawyer. But if you're asking me how I came to be a personal injury lawyer, I'm practicing law now for 41 years.
Wow.
And I practice law in two states, Nueva York and New Jersey. So instead of going for my bar exam for 2 days, I went for 3 days.
Oh, wow.
And I'm licensed in practice law in New York and New Jersey. So I can represent folks who were seriously injured in accidents in both New York and New Jersey. When I got out of law school in 1982, I went to Pace University School of Law in White Plains, New York, Pace University, after graduating from Baruch College in Manhattan. I got out of law school in 1982, and I got my first and only job in a very big law firm, where it was a law firm for major insurance companies that when you have car insurance and if you get in an accident and you get sued, your insurance company represents you. I was that law firm. And I did that for 2 years. I got paid very little dinero. Very little money. But it was an incredible experience because I was in court every day and I did depositions, I did trials, and got mucho experience.
Yeah.
So after 2 years, after Labor Day 1984, that's when I said, now I'm going to go into my own business. And that's because I was with the insurance company. That's personal injury. That's personal injury defense work. Okay? I do personal injury plaintiff work representing the people suing, the people seriously injured. But I've had many years of experience doing defense work too. So I think that's an advantage, having the experience on both sides, both the people bringing the lawsuit and the people defending the lawsuit. So hopefully I answered your question in a long manner.
Of course, thank you. And that's definitely an advantage. But being practicing law for 41 years,
Yes.
How can you manage your personal life? Being in court and defending people all the time, and also being a business owner, because I know that's hard.
Well, my family life is very important to me. My wonderful wife, Terry, my daughter, Juliana, is in her second year of college. So Padre is not retiring anytime soon, right? But my family life my personal life is very important to me, and my professional life is very important to me. I think the most important thing in life for all of us is I love what I do. I love my business. I love representing my clients. And if you don't, in my opinion, if you don't love your professional life or your business life, you probably don't love your life, because just like you, I know you, Leyla, I think you're the same way. We've spoken about this a lot. It's very important to you, and you take a lot of pride, as do I. And so I don't find myself really worrying about it or thinking about it. It's just naturally who I am. Of course, it's very important that my family is very supportive of what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. Yes, because we spend a lot of time in the office, a lot of time talking on the phone, talking to the clients. So yes, a supporting family, it's key. It's really important.
Also, when we have our own business, wouldn't you agree, Leyla? We don't think in terms of working. We're not working for someone else. We're working for us and our business. We don't think in terms of the Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I work, it could be 6, 7 days a week, holidays. I work and I do whatever is required to be done for my clients.
Yes, definitely.
Day, night, whatever, weekends.
So I heard a rumor, because we both are part of BNI, which I made a video about that. That is a great networking place to go.
Yes.
So I heard a rumor that you don't have a website. So how can you find you?
Boy. You're joining the long list of people asking me about that. So why don't I have a website? Well, I have a very unique business model, Leyla. Almost from the very beginning of my professional career, I've gotten cases from other lawyers.
Okay.
Why do I get cases from other lawyers? For a couple of two very important reasons. Numero uno. I told you before, I practice law in New York and New Jersey, right? Yeah. Well, most lawyers don't practice law in 2 states, right? A New York lawyer cannot handle a New Jersey case. A New Jersey lawyer cannot handle a New York case. So what if a New York lawyer has a New Jersey case, has a client who's seriously injured? Who do they call?
Yeah.
Senor Winograd, right? What if a New Jersey lawyer has a New York case? Same thing. So I've always had, and keep in mind, this is going back before websites and before fax machines, but it continued even to this day. And later on, my caseload was so handling so many cases, so many thousands and thousands of cases over the years. What's the greatest professional compliment we could ever get, that you could ever get? You represent a client, a customer, you do a good job, and they come back if they need more services or recommend you. So the short answer is I don't need a website. I don't want a website. I'm not so much interested in the quantity of cases. I don't need to have, I want to make sure the cases that I have, I'm doing properly and satisfying I'm providing services to my clients. I don't need my phone ringing every 15 seconds. I'm very happy. I'm very satisfied not having a website.
I know. Yeah.
But my wife complains about that. A lot of people complain about that.
That's perfect.
I hope I answered your question.
So I like the way that you handle in your business, because I think that today our businesses are becoming kind of the medical ones. It's just how many people can enter, how fast you can do it, how much you can charge. And so many business owners, they don't pay attention to take care of the client as a person and, nurture that relationship, because that's what is going to bring us more business, right?
Well, it's interesting you use the medical example, because I think for the medical example, I'm going to respond by saying the medical example is important as it relates to what I do as a lawyer and personal injury lawyer, because the practice of law is almost like the practice of medicine. With medicine, you have to go to a specialist, right? Depending on what your problem is, your medical problem is. You're not going to go to a general practitioner if you have an orthopedic injury, a neurological injury, God forbid, cancer, right? Same thing with law. What's interesting about law, you can speak to 25 lawyers and get 25 different stories of what they do. You want to go to a specialist. I pride myself on being an expert. I study, to this day, I study to become an expert in the field of personal injury law in 2 states, New York and New Jersey. I don't profess to be a real estate lawyer or criminal lawyer or immigration lawyer. I have resources relating to those fields, but it's an interesting example when you talk about medicine. So the most important thing I do is provide service and expertise to my clients as a personal injury lawyer.
Yes. Perfect. Mark, do you help only personal or also businesses?
Well, a business could, people who, when you say business, I represent people who are seriously injured in accidents. It could be a motor vehicle accident, a trip and fall, a slip and fall, a dog bite incident, a medical malpractice claim. Ordinarily, the very nature of someone who is seriously injured is a person. I don't do, a corporation isn't going to allege personal injuries, right?
So let's say in my case, right, I have a business.
I'm sorry?
In my case, I have a
Yes.
business, I have my office. How can I protect myself so anybody get injured here? My employees.
Very, very, very good question. Very, very, very important question. Which leads me to another thing I'm very, very passionate about. I always tell people the most important way to protect yourself, whether you're a person, whether you're a business, is making sure you have insurance.
Insurance.
The proper amount and the right amount of insurance. For example, when I represent a client seriously injured in an accident, I will tell you, that client always meets me. They don't speak to a clerk. They don't speak to a secretary. Sometimes these law firms now, I will tell you, and I'm kind of offended by it, they're emailing you paperwork for you to submit the papers. And sometimes I speak to people, says, oh, I had an accident months ago. I never met my lawyer.
Yeah.
When I represent someone, you're going to meet me immediately. More often than not, I'm coming to your house. I'm coming to the scene of the accident to personally investigate the case. If I meet you after you're injured in an auto accident, very often I'll come to your home. You're welcome to come to my office, either or. What's the first thing I do before I even talk about the accident and your injuries? I review your auto insurance policy. And I spend about a half hour doing that before we even talk about your case. Why? Again, this show probably isn't long enough because it's a very long story. And I will tell you, I offer to you and all of your customers and everyone out there in the viewing land, I will provide a complimentary review of your auto insurance policy. The reason why that's very important is your auto insurance policy has vital important information. For example, in the state of New Jersey, if you're seriously injured in an auto accident, what's the most important thing you first have to do? Make sure you're okay physically, right? Hospital, medical care, very large bills. Who pays those bills? Your auto insurance policy. Not the guy that hit you, not the guy who went through a red light or was a drunk driver. It's your insurance policy. So you have to make sure you have the proper amount of insurance. That's called no fault or PIP. PIP stands for personal injury protection insurance that covers your hospital and medical bills. In the state of New Jersey, for many, many decades, New Jersey had the best no-fault insurance in the country, $250,000, $250,000 standard coverage. About 15 more years ago, the legislature allowed them to offer less, reduced no-fault coverage, whereas the majority of people now have $15,000, which is nothing. It's insufficient coverage. You must have that standard coverage of 250. Some insurance companies give you a right to have additional. How much no fault or PIP coverage do I have, Leyla? How much do I have for payment of my family's hospital and medical bills? The answer is $1 million. If, God forbid, a family member of mine is catastrophically injured, hopefully it will never, ever happen, but we get insurance to cover the things that sometimes happen, right?
Is that something?
My family has $1 million in coverage. Just to complete the thought, there's another very important provision of your auto insurance policy called uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. What does that mean? That's two different scenarios. What if the other car that hit you and you're seriously injured and the value of injuries could be hundreds of thousands of dollars? What if they have no insurance? There are a lot of people out there, unfortunately, driving around with no insurance. What if they have insufficient insurance to cover you for your serious injuries? The mandatory minimum is $25,000. Not too long ago, it was $15,000. It's only $25,000. But what if the value of your injury is $200,000, but they only have $25,000 in coverage? They don't have a job. You can't get a judgment against them. Your insurance under the uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. I have $1.5 million of such coverage. So I don't care how much insurance the other guy had if heaven forbid something happens to me or my family. Do you understand?
Yeah, this is extremely interesting.
So now, just to finish answering your very important question, for your business, obviously you have to make sure you have proper liability coverage. For your employees, proper workers' compensation coverage. I will tell you, part of the services I provide is I have fantastic resources. Chris Gonzalez, you know Chris Gonzalez, he's in BNI, Gonzalez Insurance. Habla Español, see?
Yeah.
I regularly confer with my clients and make sure that they have proper insurance and arrange for them to get insurance coverage reviews from Gonzalez Insurance. So that's part of the services I provide as well.
This is amazing because number one, for car insurance, the people that sells you the insurance, the sellers, they don't explain to you anything because sometimes we made the mistake to ask, okay, I want the cheapest one. So the cheapest one, I guess, doesn't include everything that you explained. And the same thing happened for businesses. Some of my clients, they don't want to pay workers' compensation, or they think it's too much, it's a really huge expense for the business. So they avoid it. And they don't think in this kind of subjects. If something happened, they're not covered.
Well, to finish the story I told you of how I always begin my meetings with my seriously injured clients by reviewing their insurance policies. What's very upsetting to me, Leyla, very upsetting to me is every single time I have such a conversation with my clients, you know what they always say to me? Mr. Winograd, I never knew that. My insurance company never told me that. They never explained that to me. Had I known that. Now, if, for example, there are many times on the uninsured, underinsured motorist endorsement, it's a matter of spending an extra $15 a year to get extra coverage of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Certainly the same thing with no fault. To have $15,000 in coverage, which is just a drop in a bucket, versus $250, less than $100 a year. If you had a choice, heaven forbid, you or a family member was seriously injured, would you rather have $15,000 in medical coverage under no fault or PIP, or $250,000?
Yes.
And by having the extra $235,000 and you're spending less than $100 more, of course you would always make that decision. But you need to be informed. You need to have that information.
Where do you think people can go to find that information?
Well, hopefully they're going to go to your YouTube show, listen to me and listen to you. And we're laughing, but it is very upsetting. I've been really preaching this for years. And listen, it's one client at a time, one person at a time. And if in a best case scenario, you hope you never, ever, ever are involved in an accident where you're seriously injured. But you need to cover yourself with proper insurance coverage in the event that it happens. If God forbid you or your child, your loved one, it's very important.
Yes.
Well, you're certainly not getting from the insurance company, that's for sure.
That for sure. So, Mark, what do you think? Like, let's say 3 tips to people.
I'm sorry.
So, 3 tips to everyone that wants to protect themselves in case of an injury. Personal, business. 3 tips, 3 recommendations.
Well, insurance.
Perfect.
Meet with me or someone who you trust, who's knowledgeable. Listen, knowledge is king. Knowledge is education and knowledge in BNI. Like, what's one of the core principles of BNI? I didn't see your show, but you know that lifelong learning is one of the keys, right? In business, listen, I mean, the obvious things when it comes to, my 19-year-old daughter, I got her a car, and unfortunately, her second year of college, she has the car up at school. I made sure those brakes are good. She's got new tires. Safety. Obviously, distracted driving is a very big issue now. Everyone's on their cell phones, and it's, distracted driving is a big issue. Safety, insurance. I hope I answered your question.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I love it. I just learned a lot about you and about what you do. I didn't know all this stuff. I even didn't know about the insurance, car insurance.
You have to email me in PDF form the declaration page. Everyone has a declaration page of your auto insurance policy.
Yeah.
And when you look at that declaration page, it's really not one insurance policy. For all intents and purposes, it's six or 7 or more insurance policies. There's liability. That's a situation where if the accident happens and it's your fault and someone else was seriously injured and is suing you, listen, you have a successful business. We have properties. We don't want to be the reason why we have insurance, even if we sometimes are negligent and make a mistake. We want to make sure you have proper liability coverage. Then there's no fault of PIP, the payment of your hospital and medical bills. What about collision? What about property damage, the uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage, etc.? These are very, very important. Even a part of your policy covers your lost earnings. Now, in the state of New Jersey, the basic lost earnings provision is only $100 a week for 1 year, 52 weeks, $5,200. I have $700 a week, what's called option 8, for the entire amount of time that I'm incapacitated from employment. Again, these are things that your insurance company is not properly notifying you about. There's a big, you go online, there's something called a coverage selection form, which is about 8 or 10 pages. Good luck understanding that.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to fill in the box.
Yes.
It's not a fill in a box scenario. It's a knowledge and informed, important decisions that you need to make.
I think the next person that I need to invite is Chris Gonzalez, so he can explain us about that.
100%.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You'll first go to Mark Winograd, who's going to tell you, and then we will bring Chris Gonzalez.
Of course, you're the first one from BNI, the first one. So thank you so much, Mark, for this interview. I really, really, truly appreciate it.
I don't have a website, Leyla, but I think I shared with you a little brief bio of my law practice with a picture of me. My wife said I wasn't smiling. I'm sorry. But it does have my contact information. I wish everyone a happy and a healthy and a safe new year. And it was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you
It
very
was
much.
a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye. Recording is